Watching Time Warner Cable's Local Edition, I'm Brad Pomerance. Paul Koretz is joining us, member of the Los Angeles City Council. And in some ways, I do feel as if Los Angeles could be patted on the back. As you know, the state recently set conservation goals, and LADWP was set at 16%, which is not bad. The lowest is 8, the highest is 36, and so 8, 12, 16, I mean, that's not bad.
We're using a lot less water, and we're doing a lot in Los Angeles. And I'm also on the Metropolitan Water District Board. We're dealing with every element of the drought. The scariest part of it for me is climate change may have affected this more than people realize. So we may not be in a drought. This may be a semi-permanent situation because it used to be a lot of our water came from the snowpack in the Sierras. The snowpack, because of the hotter temperatures, is essentially gone. So instead of naturally storing water and having it trickling down throughout much of the year, we have to be able to capture it faster.
I want to ask you about the MWD because it has really been a model of rebate programs throughout the state. As you know, the MWD and the LADWP has now partnered, and if you want to replace your standard grass, you can do that and get quite a rebate, $3.75 a square foot. That's real.
And we had a little bit of a battle at MWD because it wasn't that long ago that we spent $20 million a year on conservation. Now we're adding $350 million to what we're already spending for turf removal and water-saving devices.
There has been one criticism, though, and that had been that a lot of those rebates were going to companies and corporations. And God bless them for what they were doing. But until you added the extra $350 million, the residential waiting list was a mile long.
And it's probably a little more cost-effective doing the larger removals, but we realize that a lot of what we're doing is education. And if you're not doing the homeowners, you're not really doing the education piece. So we reduced the amount that we give to commercial entities, and we capped it. But a lot of this money will go to residential.
I want to ask you about pools. We live in Los Angeles. Pools are popular. It's hard to get a real sense as to whether pools are efficient when you look at the drought. Some would argue that having a pool, as long as you're not constantly refilling it, is better than having grass. Others would argue it's a luxury we can't have anymore in Southern California. What's your sense?
I think it's sort of a mixed bag. I think at a minimum, people that own pools need to keep them covered when they're not in use so that a lot of that water isn't evaporating. If it were me, I would empty out my pool and not refill it until we were coming out of this drought. And
even
frankly,
if you had a cover?
Even if I had a cover.
Okay.
But I don't think we're at the point yet where we have to tell everybody to empty their pools and fill them in. But if this drought is indeed a more permanent situation, at some point we're going to have to recognize that's a luxury we can't afford.
We hear that El Nino may be coming, and coming in a very significant way. And if it aligns up properly, we could have very serious rains this fall and winter. Are you bullish on El Nino? I mean, I know we're not scientists, but from what you know.
I'm hopeful. The problem is historically Los Angeles hasn't done a lot to capture their water. So we have to get everybody to have rain barrels and cisterns on site when they're tearing out their lawns. If they do it properly, it can take that water in and put it into the groundwater. There are a lot of steps we need to take to capture that water.
His name is Paul Koretz. He's a member of the Los Angeles City Council. My name is Brad Pomerance. It's Time Warner Cable's Local Edition.